I was the one. Those two kids in the paper. I ran them off.
Hey everybody, welcome to You'll Probably Agree. Today I have Azura Skye, the star of the movie The Swerve, and boy, what a film. I got to say, this was a great representation of mental illness. I see like a lot of movies that try to depict it, and they kind of do sort of this singular kind of hokey job at it. And this movie really kind of broke down what it's like not only to have uh, uh, have something on your mind that you can't get off, but the fact that you can't even tell anyone about it because of without giving the plot away, extenuating circumstances. Although probably we're going to be kind of inadvertently giving a little bit of away without too much. But yeah, having said that, one thing that kept going through my mind in this film was what was exactly going on in Holly's head and what wasn't. Because I'm not sure if the movie went to, I don't know if it was exactly open for interpretation or not.
I do think that it was kind of open for interpretation, which is something that I liked about it. And I always like when you see a movie with someone and you leave and you both have entirely different opinions as to what happened.
Yeah.
Um, for me, I had to imagine that it was all real. For me, none of it was in her head. For me, it was all happening in real time. Uh, so yeah, that's the way I played it. And then, everyone takes different things away from it. And so it's been interesting to see, different people's takes on exactly what was in her head and what was actually happening. But from where I was coming from, it was all real.
Right. And I guess like on the theme of mental illness, there's a big theme in the film. How do you think people could have helped Holly out in this in the position that she was in, or was she beyond help because basically she had to keep like this horrible secret in her head, and if she told anyone, she might have had to confess to the police regarding a hit and run that happened, and then she would have to go to jail, her family probably would have been shamed, so on and so forth. Do you think she could have been helped, or if there was a way anyone could have helped her?
I think to help her, it probably would have been far before that incident ever occurred. Um, you know, it, that incident happens after she leaves a very uncomfortable dinner situation with her family and flees the house and is taking solace in her vehicle, being alone driving, and this horrible thing happens. um, you wonder if maybe her family had treated her with a little bit more kindness and care if she wouldn't have been pushed to that point.
Yeah.
But once it actually came to that, I agree with you. There's really not many places for her to go.
Yeah, yeah, I was kinda like, "Well, what is she gonna do at that point?" Like, it's just, I guess it is what it is. Um, so, do you think, why do you think nobody cared, like, much? Because it seemed like throughout the movie, not a lot of people showed a lot of care towards your character. Furthermore, I guess towards that, I guess to dive a little deeper, do you think we have a problem in society with displaying empathy towards one another?
Yes, especially recently.
Yeah.
And I think it's, as you look at our culture and our society and what we've been through, it's become glaringly obvious just how important empathy is. Uh, being kind and being empathetic are no small things. At the end of the day, they are truly all that matter. They trump everything, so to speak, no pun intended.
Yeah, it's
Um,
alright. It's all on our minds.
but yes, empathy is hugely important, and in Holly's case, I think a big part of her problem is that she was living with a family. And of course, she's loved by her family. Her husband and her kids love her, I'm sure, but they don't show a lot of appreciation. And, it's so important to take that moment with those people around us and just say, I see you, and I care about you, and you're important, and what you're doing is important. Because I think sometimes when you see people every day, you start to take them for granted, and they can kind of become invisible to you. And that also is part of Holly's story and Holly's plight, this sort of feeling like this invisible person who no one sees and no one listens to.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so how did you this is kind of like an emotionally it's a very tolling role to say the least. How did you prepare for such a task?
Yeah, it was a tough one for sure. And I found that there actually wasn't really any way to prepare for this movie.
Yeah.
It's very much an on the day, in the moment kind of thing. And just kind of getting myself into a headspace and an emotional place where I was able to access all that stuff that needed to be accessed. But I did use music quite a bit, which is
Mm.
something that I often do um, when it comes to more emotional work. But I did it more with this project probably than any other, because um, it was such a tall order in that regard. I find that music affects me more quickly and more viscerally than anything else. There are even songs that I don't even have to listen to them. I can just listen to them in my head and I'll start to cry. So that's a tool that I use, and that was very helpful for me once again on this.
Oh, absolutely. So, like, how did you like wind down after each shoot? Because I'm guessing, you've been in Holly's head. It's a lot. Like, okay, well, today I have another emotional breakdown. Uh, how do I relax after this? Like, did you like get out of character like immediately, like when they said cut? Or did you just go full Daniel Day-Lewis and method it all the way?
No,
Or
that's not really my style.
yeah.
I do tend to stop acting and stop being my character as soon as they say cut. That's always the way I work, not by choice. That's just the way I am. For me,
Mhm.
I always have to come right back to being me immediately to then be that character once again. So yeah, the second they say cut, I am no longer Holly, and I am once again Azura, which I'm very grateful for, especially in this situation, that this wasn't a character I was taking home with me, because that would have been highly unpleasant, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So this movie, in a way, it's kind of like affirming that, there are mothers and wives and overall women in this world who seem to be overlooked. Why do you think, like, no do you think why do you think nobody listened to Holly? What was it? Because was there a theme of her being overlooked as a woman in society, or what was it? Because like her son seemed like one of her children seemed kind of like the Eric Cartman of the family. He was kind of bratty to her. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
little.
cheese post, and like, her
I hadn't put that Cartman similarity together, but um,
yeah.
that's funny. Which is a compliment, by the way. I'm a huge.
Yeah.
Um, you're definitely right in terms of that role that we put on women in terms of being wives and mothers and caretakers, and that's certainly a big component of the film. Um, and what we're speaking to, it can be a very thankless job. It's probably the hardest job, the most important job, and it's you know y- like I said, I'll
Yeah.
oftentimes take it for granted. I don't know if it's possible not to take our mothers for granted, and our spouses for granted. But I hope that this movie makes people take a moment and really not do that. I hope.
Yeah, I just kind of kept thinking like Holly must have kept it together in her head for a while. Like her husband seemed kind of like a firecracker. Like if he was in the same situation, I'm gonna guess he would probably be 10 times more emotional. Like one scene that really stood out to me is like when you're confessing to him and he's just like, You're crazy. I don't want to listen," you know?
Well, and that scene is so telling because there
Yeah.
she's actually admitting this horrible secret and coming clean about this thing. And again, it's like he doesn't even hear her.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's just it's sort of like we just have a problem overall of listening to each other, you know,
Yeah.
because we want to take more of our time just to speak and like move on to what we like want to say rather than having to hear what someone else has to say.
That's so true. And that's a realization that I had years ago, which is, you're about to say something and then you realize, like, well, why do I want to say this? I already know what I'm going to say. Like, do I really need to share this? Maybe I'm going to learn so much more just by listening. And of course, you will.
Yeah. I guess on that note, like what would you want audiences to take away from this film when they leave? Because I know certainly like when it ended, I didn't go, all right, that was a good movie. And then, I just kind of went on with my day. I just kind of thought about sort of a lot of the resonating themes of empathy, mental illness, women being overlooked, keeping secrets, like all these sort of things that kind of floated with me after the credits rolled.
I would say if there's one thing that I hope people take away from the film is that not to assume that you ever know what's really going on with someone, whether that be the person next to you at the market or even your own partner or spouse or member of your family. We all sort of have this habit of putting on these bright, shiny faces and going out into the world. And, when people ask us how we're doing, we say, I'm doing great. We put on this big smile. But, uh, in fact, more times than not, we're not doing great. So
Yeah.
just to be sensitive to that. And like I said, don't assume that you know what's going on in someone's day or someone's life.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in this year, like if someone like asks like how are you doing, just say 2020, and then that'll just say
Yeah,
everything.
I think it's really important just to be honest with each other now more than ever.
Yeah. Yeah, like more often like if someone like says like how you doing, they say not well. It's like usually the response is why are you not doing well, or they act kind of like, "Oh, no, why did I just ask that?" Because if someone starts to open up, they're not going to want to hear it. Yeah.
That's instantly uncomfortable. But yeah, so I would say on that note, just to treat each other with a little bit more care, a little bit
Yeah.
more kindness.
Absolutely. And where can people find this film? I think it's kind of available on streaming platforms in a lot of
Yeah,
places. I know I caught it on Amazon
cool.
recently. Yeah.
Yeah, Amazon, iTunes, all the major VOD platforms.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the normal ones.
Yeah, and it's not hard to catch it. It's not like we're going anywhere. So
They've lots of time, right?
yeah.
It's not
Exactly.
exactly the feel-good movie of the year, but I like to tell people that it's a reminder that things could be worse.
Yeah, things could be a lot. Hey, at least in that movie, people, didn't have to wear masks and all that. They could go out. There wasn't a global pandemic going on during the film,
So
but
that's one woman suffering as opposed to suffering on a global level, which is obviously far more catastrophic. But perhaps a distraction from your own suffering to focus on someone else's suffering.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, thanks so much. There is one thing I gotta ask just because, and it has nothing to do with the movie, but I noticed on your IMDb credits, you as a huge Star Wars nerd, I noticed that you were in Star Wars The Old Republic and you played a character called Ashra Zarvos, right?
Ashara Zavros.
Yeah.
I know it's funny because it kind of sounds like my name, right? Azura, Ashara. Maybe that's why
I
they gave me
I
the
was
job.
kind of like, was that intentional? Yeah.
But I didn't audition for it. It was just a straight offer. So maybe they were like, oh, we should hire that girl who kind of has a similar sounding name.
Yeah, exactly. What was that like to be part of that universe?
Oh, so cool. It was such an honor to be part of the Star Wars legacy in any capacity. So, yeah, super.
Yeah, it's a great way to get my mind off of things. But we're talking about the Swerve, not Star Wars, because I could go on for hours about that. I'll do my Mandalorian stuff later. Yeah. Thanks so much, Azura, for coming on, and be sure to stay safe and stay healthy and all that good stuff. And when the cameras roll again, I can't wait to see what your next project's going to be.
Thank you, Mike. That makes two of us.
All right, thanks a lot. Okay,
Thank you.
guys, remember
You
to
want to take care.
yeah, all right. Thanks a lot, guys. Remember to check out the Swerve, available on all major streaming platforms, including iTunes and Amazon, etc. Thanks a lot, guys.